Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and TV discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sean Keenan.
Hey, clever Heidi joke.
And of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I think that the Netflix and chill people were expecting a totally different kind of chilling adventures.
Oh, no one's as chilling as we are today, as we are going to be covering Chilling Adventures. I wish there was an article in there. I wish it was The Chilling Adventures instead of just Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. We are going to be reviewing the first 5 episodes. There's 10 episodes out right now, but will we be reviewing the Christmas episode when that comes out on Netflix? We'll see by the end of this episode. But
hold your tongue, Keenan. Hold your tongue, Keenan. You can do it. Wait your turn. Wait your turn.
But we'd first like to start the show out by just saying thank you to everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/HMP. You help keep this show going. And if you're one of our many subscribers over there, you have listened to today a fantastic episode where we talk a little bit about the glory that was the late Stan Lee. And man, oh man, just honest to goodness, check it out. It's worth $1. Go for that $1 just to really get that great memory, and of course, be able to vote on all the things that we do and stuff like that. That's if you're a super fan of this program, and we know we got some of you guys out there, and we really appreciate all of those people. So what do you say, boys? The October's done, but we still got a little bit of horror and excitement still left in us. Let's go ahead and listen to the trailer for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I don't know if I'll ever get used to that.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Barney Kinkle, the only person you're gonna scare is yourself.
Gotcha.
Good night, Harvey.
Good night, Sabrina.
In the town of Greendale, where it always feels like Halloween, there lived a girl who was half witch,
Absent omen,
half mortal, who, on her 16th birthday, would have to choose between 2 worlds, the witch world of her family and the human world of her friends.
Happy birthday, sweet 16.
And that girl is me.
Are you willing to forsake the path of light and follow the path of night?
It's very tempting to It's very tempting.
I can't do this.
You must.
I shall deliver Sabrina. You're going to die, half-breed. Girls, let's not be catty bitches, hmm?
It's just that you've grown up before my very eyes.
You're a rebel, Spellman. That's how I like my witches.
Right. You turned into the prettiest.
I'm not an evil person. But these are desperate times.
Happy birthday, sweet 16. Happy birthday, sweet 16.
My name is Sabrina Spellman, and I will not sign it away.
Would you like to do the honors?
With pleasure.
Rise. Rise. Happy birthday, sweet 16.
Was on Hilda.
She annoyed me, so I killed her and buried her in the yard.
All right, that was a trailer for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that is on Netflix right now. Here's the IMDb plotline. As her 16th birthday nears, Sabrina must choose between the witch world of her family and the human world of her friends, based on the Archie comic. And you know what? When we have things that are based upon comics, you know what we do around here. All righty, Bruce. What do we got this week?
When folks think about Archie comics, one typically thinks of roots in the late 1940s, but Sabrina came from a slightly more hip time, 1962. She was created by writer George Glatter and artist Dan DiCarlo, and she first appeared in Archie's Madhouse number 22. When asked about the creation of Sabrina, Glatter had this to say: "I think we both envisioned it as a one-shot and were surprised when fans asked for more. We continued to do Sabrina stories off and on in Madhouse until 1969, when we were flabbergasted to hear it was to become an animated television series. When it came to naming Sabrina, I decided to name her after a woman I recalled from my junior high school days, who was very active in school affairs and who assigned a number of us to interview prominent people in the media. In addition, I later found out that the woman's name was Sabra, not Sabrina." So that's a weird story to tell about how you couldn't remember someone's name. But Sabrina wasn't always a human, in quote marks. I had to say in quote marks because I put quote marks around human, but you can't tell that from the inflection of my voice. So originally, Sabrina was created by her two aunts, Hilda and Zelda Spellman, from a magic potion that turned out wrong. Now, it was later retconned by the 1996 Sabrina sitcom that Sabrina is a half-witch, her mother is an ordinary human or mortal, as witches refer to them, while her father was a wizard. As interesting as the sitcom origin story is, I would like some modern stories that explore her as a purely magical creation. Sabrina and her aunts reside in the New England town of Greendale, which is described in the comics as not too far from Riverdale. That means she's close enough to Archie to appear in his comics when convenient, but far enough away that people aren't constantly asking, "Where's Archie?" Also, living with the three witchy women is a black cat named Salem Saberhagen. In the original comic stories, Salem was a typical witch's cat who didn't talk. The 1996 sitcom introduced the idea that Salem was a witch who's been turned into a cat as punishment for world domination attempts. In the recent comic books reboot, he was originally a human named Samuel and was turned into a cat as punishment by the witches of Salem for impregnating a witch named Abigail and refusing to marry her. Now, a recurring theme in Sabrina's story is her learning more about the proper use of her powers, either through her aunts or from trips to a magical dimension that is the home of various magical and mythological creatures, including, of course, other witches. Sabrina's primary love interest is her mortal boyfriend named Harvey Kinkle, who, like nearly all the other mortals in Sabrina's world, is unaware his girlfriend is a witch. Sabrina Spellman appeared in the first issue of Afterlife with Archie, where she resurrects Hot Dog back from the dead for Jughead. This starts the zombie apocalypse in Riverdale. She later appears in issue 6 of Afterlife with Archie, where she's forced to become the bride of Cthulhu. Hopefully this helps people understand why I liked Afterlife with Archie so much. But due to the positive reception of Afterlife with Archie, a new comic called Chilling Adventures of Sabrina was created. The first issue debuted in October 2014, and the comic is set during the 1960s, where half-witch Sabrina lives with her witch aunts Hilda and Zelda, her warlock cousin Ambrose, and Salem, her feline familiar, in the town of Greendale. Nearing her 16th birthday, she must choose whether to become a full witch or pursue a mortal life with her boyfriend, Harvey Kinkle. Meanwhile, Madam Satan, a former flame of her estranged father, has returned from hell and wants revenge on the Spellman family. I think that plot synopsis shows us that Berlanti's show wants to at least somewhat follow the plot of its eponymous comic book series. Of course, in the comics, Ambrose has 2 pet cobras, and I don't know about you guys, but one thing I thought this show could use more of was cobras. So listen up, Greg Berlanti. I know it's probably too late to make any changes to the forthcoming Sabrina holiday special, but please, good sir, please, give us some hooded venomous reptiles in season 2, and I'm not talking about Betty and Veronica. Though Jughead would be a welcome cameo, especially if it means Cole Sprouse gets turned into a zombie.
So, from my understanding, because I've got a buddy of mine who's he literally went to college for religious studies, but not to become an actual priest or anything else like that. He just studies the stuff and he's all the religions and everything. So a lot of this stuff is really up his alley and whatnot. And he's a big fan of the book, and man, oh man, does he think this book, this show has zero to do with that book. Have you read any of that book at all, Bruce, or do you know of?
Yeah, I read the first issue, maybe the first two, and I liked it, but it had kind of an irregular publication schedule. I was not alone in loving Afterlife with Archie. I mean, that was probably the most critically popular as well as popular among the fan base of anything Archie Comics had done in such a long time. And they still couldn't even keep that on a good publication schedule. And it just kind of went away. And there's a Jughead book where Jughead's a werewolf and Betty Cooper's a werewolf hunter called The Hunger. And that's another one. Like, their horror books do really well, but for some reason they have trouble putting them out on a regular basis. So it's hard to stick with them.
And what's everybody's connection with the television show back in the late 90s, early 2000s and stuff?
I watched quite a bit of it, man. I mean, I was a Melissa Joan Hart fan from back when Clarissa used to explain it all.
Oh yeah.
So I stuck with her, and got to say, man, I loved it. And I also like the way that the nature of television has changed. But they used to get about 17 million people watching each episode, which is like bigger than The Walking Dead. And you don't really think of Sabrina the Teenage Witch as being the cultural phenomenon that The Walking Dead is, but I got numbers to prove it was.
Yeah. I mean, my sister was like kind of the right age when that show came out. I mean, like, she was like the target demographic for that. So it was,
so she was like 22 like I was.
No, she was like 13, 14 years old. And you're right. I mean, I grew up with Clarissa Explains It All and stuff as well. So, but in Salem was really the reason you came back to that show week after week, in my opinion.
Oh, the excellent puppetry of Salem was amazing.
And just the smart alecky cat coming back and having witty little one-liners and all that crap. And it's so dumb, but yet it was kind of fun. So I was not really, I didn't really know what to expect with this thing going in. I wasn't, I've only ever seen a couple episodes of Mad Men, but apparently the young lady that stars in this flick was the daughter in Mad Men.
Yeah, she plays Draper's daughter.
And she was like, what, 10 years old? I mean, she was little.
Yeah, she starts off, and I mean, she's prepubescent. She's young.
Yeah, she's only 19 now, so
yeah, so she was
timeline.
Yeah, very young at that point. But yeah, man, I had no idea what to know about this going in. I don't even think I had seen really a trailer for this. I think maybe I'd seen a picture or two, but that was about it. And let's do it. When I started this thing, I was just like, oh my gosh, we are going to have to do this for 5 hours.
Well, I think I went into it maybe, I don't know, maybe more enthusiastically than you guys did. My wife said she liked it. I kind of like spooky stuff. I like good takes on comics that have been around forever. I like the comic that it's based on, even though I only read a couple of issues. I like that they actually stuck with the same kind of artwork for the title, and it looks so it didn't bother me maybe as much as it bothered you guys, and I was kind of curious what it was going to do. Maybe I wanted it to be a little I don't know. I can understand they're not going to go for the comedy like Melissa Joan Hart's version did, but I still wanted, like, I don't know, maybe more like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of feel to it. Like, I wanted just a little bit of fun in there that there's not a lot of fun to have, and more so than getting adjusted to the new Sabrina. Boy, I am not very good pronouncing that actress's name, but the tougher adjustment. Yeah, that's exactly how I would have said it too. But I think the tougher adjustment for me was the ants, because they were kind of iconic too from the old TV show, and the fact that they weren't pure evil like one of these ants are. I mean, these ants have a real Cain and Abel dynamic going on between them.
Yeah, for me, I like Lucy Davis. I think most people would probably recognize her from like Shaun of the Dead. That's where The
Office.
Yeah, The Office as well. So that's and Wonder Woman. She had a great little role in Wonder Woman there too. She's scene stealer. She was.
Okay, so yeah, I like her, man. But the one that hit her in the face with a hammer, geez, she needs to chill out a little bit.
Miranda Otto, yes. She's but she was, of course, she was Erwin in Lord of the Rings. So like, she's got like a really awesome, kind of some nerd creds and stuff as well.
But if the ants are sisters, why does one of them have a British accent?
Both of them have a British accent. What are you talking about?
Miranda Otto doesn't have a British accent in the show.
It's a little. It ain't American. I'll tell you that.
I think it is. I think it's absolutely American. Where do you come down on it, Sean?
I don't care.
So you're not going to settle this debate.
Look, Lucy Davis has a very strong British accent, and the other lady doesn't.
Yeah.
I can't take it anymore. I'm going to start talking. This TV show is a fire in space on a spaceship. It's the most dangerous thing in the world. There are so many things I would rather do than ever spend any more time in this world. I understand that there's very talented people working on this show. What they're doing is good for what this is. I understand this show is not made for me. I understand that Kiernan Shipka is going to be a massive, massive star. There's no doubt about it. She's going to be a massive star. And this show is probably the one that's going to catapult her into like romantic comedies and, you know, being like the tough chick after a while in action movies. And like she's going to eventually be in superhero movies probably. Whatever it is. I understand all of that. That being said, I would rather watch pornography starring Adam and Bruce. I would rather
listen.
I would rather be on a flu. I would rather share a flume ride with someone who is suffering from dysentery than watch any more of this show. I never ever.
Wow, you really got something against. I think you got something against Berlanti's style.
Well, I clearly don't. I really don't, sir. But this show, I hate it with a blinding passion. This show is I hate this show equal parts as much as I hate Riverdale. I hated Riverdale, as you guys remember. I absolutely despised that show. And we only watched 2 hours of that show. So yeah. Imagine me hitting the 4-hour turn, just how happy I was that I only got an hour of this left.
Now, you've got to admit that this show's better than Riverdale.
Yes,
the creators of this show take more pride in their work than the creators in Riverdale.
It absolutely is. And if I'm being completely honest, the trial is the best part that we saw. Like I like that little trial thing as much as I can like something that's like this. The trial is fine.
Now I'm going to guess your least favorite part, because this is where it kind of lost me a little bit, because the show seems to work hard to have a consistent tone and take pride in its work. And then when the sleep demon shows up, it is straight out of 1990s Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That fifth episode is such a slog, and I'm sitting there just going, and I normally like these things, and I know Sean automatically doesn't like these kind of things, and I am hating this thing, so I'm sitting there going, I can only imagine how much he hates this, because I don't like it, and I tend to like these things.
The only thing that could have made this worse is if somebody broke out into song. Is the only way.
I think that could have made things better. I'd have liked there been some musical numbers.
We do have that Christmas special coming up, and Berlanti was a big fan of Glee.
I was about to say Berlanti is no stranger to throwing in a musical episode here and there, so don't count those chickens, boy.
Oh, I'm not. I am not.
Now, speaking of, speaking of musicals, because we all know that Austin and Ally was a great musical television show for tweens that used to be on television. But here we've got Jeffrey Dahmer from My Friend Dahmer showing up in the cast. Did you guys think there was any chance we'd be talking about what's his name, Ross Lynch or something? We'd be talking about him twice in the same quarter here on Hero Movie Podcast?
No.
I only knew he was in this because when I was looking for the Stallone connection for Dahmer, I saw that he was in this.
That's one of those I wouldn't even have put it together, to be quite honest, until you start looking, because and props to him, because that certainly gives him some credit, in my opinion, because you don't look at those two things and go, well, that's just the guy doing the same thing over and over. No, it's very, very different.
That's true.
And you also know how, like, I don't know the names of any young actors, so whenever we talk about who would be a good person, the new of actors to play this male role, I'm always stuck saying Zac Efron because I don't know anybody else. Well, I'm making it official from now on. I'm saying Ross Lynch.
All those ones.
It's not bad. It's not a bad choice. The guy is a good actor.
Yeah, he's very good at what he does, even though, like, things like this might be a little questionable.
Talking about good actors, it's nice to see Balky getting some work.
First of all, great.
That dude is incredible in everything he does, and anyone who says otherwise, I will fight.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is a great actor. He just needs a better agent and better management behind him, because that dude goes 100% every single time.
The fact that nobody has revived Perfect Strangers is amazing to me. But my wife, watched the show before I did, and she's not always as she isn't as on point with 80s sitcom knowledge as I am for some reason. But she said, oh, it's got this guy from like that show in the 80s that had like brothers, and one of them was Italian. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Italian.
Slowly, I started to figure out. I said, no, he was from Mypos, not Italy.
Mypos is off the coast of Italy, you moron. Come on.
She said, that's not even a real place. I got to be from there. And I said, and they're not brothers. How can they be brothers? They're cousins. It's cousin Leary.
Cousin Larry Appleton. Come on now, people. God, I love that show so much when I was a kid. Man, that was a great show.
And I know you're not going to agree with me on this one, Adam, but I think that after the tincture of time and we look back on it, Perfect Strangers was superior to Family Matters.
Oh, well, they're very different.
Family, for one,
that's a tough
Perfect
one.
Strangers knew when to bow out.
Yeah, well,
we had robot Urkels, we had Urkel clones, we had like Urkel taking his Jekyll and Hyde serum. We had all kinds of stuff.
As crazy as some of that stuff was in Family Matters, gosh, it was fun. It really, like Robo Urkel and stuff, and the whole, like, some of the Stefan stuff, I'll get you, and how horrible of a human being that Laura Winslow really was. Because when you look back, it's just like, oh yeah, you're just a bad person.
Not to mention, once he's like 37 years old and still trying to play a high school nerd, it's time to move on. Jaleel White.
Listen, I'm not going to say that you probably couldn't have cut at least one season from that program, but still.
At least one.
One season.
Just one.
One season.
But when they sent Judy upstairs and she never ever existed again, it is what it is.
Now, here's a stylistic question. Like I said before, the comic was set in the 60s. In this show, they never say exactly when it's set.
Oh, it is
but
modern
in these first
day.
But during these first 5 episodes, you won't see a single cell phone, right?
Which I thought was refreshing, but yeah.
And I think they're trying, how like in Gotham, it's sort of in this weird alternate timeline where it's like simultaneously 1985 and 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get the little feel, because anytime there's a phone call, the phone actually rings. When they pick it up, there's a cord on the phone, and there's still rotary dials. So I feel like there's a part of it where they thought maybe they would go with the 60s, but they clearly didn't, because they're talking about Cronenberg's The Fly. But this I think they could still convince us that this was not modern day if they needed to.
True. Let's talk about that before we pass right by it and stuff. Sean, you have girls of age.
I do.
You ever hear them or their friends or anybody ever have any conversations remotely close to the conversations that some of the girls are having in this television series?
Well, the one thing that drives me nuts lately with television shows is that everyone who is your good-hearted characters, right? Your good-hearted characters, they all participate in causes. Like, everybody's got a cause. Like, oh, you're a good person, so you're gonna fight for this thing, this
Mm-hmm.
like equality or animal rights or whatever it is, and it's constant and forever. Also, for some reason, everyone's like friend base looks like the Burger King Kids Club now.
Yes.
And I get it. Like, I understand why you do that. It makes perfect sense to me if it's a television show. But I have become tired of seeing it. It's become tiresome seeing this, where like over and over and over again, it's like, oh hey, and it looks like we're a Benetton ad, and you know, my references are so dated now. Like, I need to find a new reference point.
But Cat Grant called it out perfectly on Supergirl when she said, "Oh, look at you and your attractive, inoffensive, diverse selves. You look just like the cast of a CW show."
Yeah. That is great. That is a great way of putting it. You look like the cast of a CW show. There's my reference point. Thank you. It makes me insane. And so, you know, like, my kids are both girls. They are both, you know, forward-thinking individuals, and they both have their own things that they're into. But they're also both lazy because they are kids, and kids are inherently lazy. Yeah. And so they're like, you know, I have to remind them, like, oh hey, like, this just happened. Hey, did you call your car insurance company because of the thing that happened with your car? Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. Oh, did you? Were you working? Oh, yeah, I had to work. Yeah, I had to work 4 hours yesterday. Oh my God, 4 whole hours. Oh my God. And that is the way that this happens. Like, that is the way that kids speak, because they try to do as little as humanly possible so they can do the things that they want to do. I get it. I was that way also. I was also that way. Kids are not like workaholic. Let's constantly work on stuff. Like that impromptu Halloween party that they all go to. That is a very heavily decorated Halloween party put together by children.
It doesn't exist. It does not exist in society where
here's what I'll say,
impromptu party planning committees.
I get the idea of Greendale's rural because one of the kids' parents is gone on 3 days for a farmers expo, and then we also see the coal mines. And I grew up in a rural town, and let's say in 1986, I could see us putting together an impromptu party and trying really hard to decorate like this. In modern day, I don't see my kids doing that, but we had like absolutely nothing to do ever. So it was pretty easy to get motivated to do stuff back then. Like, I don't think we've seen anybody with like a laptop in their bedroom on this show.
I don't remember computers in this. Now that I'm really thinking about it, everybody's looking at books, and boy, do they! Let me tell you. Here's how
we're
go ahead.
We're led to believe that the only access that one of these characters has to a book is from the school library. Like, there's not even a public library or a bookstore.
Yeah, I'm sitting there just going like, these banned books, you know, you got the internet, right? That's available to you. That's an option.
But once again, I grew up in a town where my choices for books were, we did have a public library. It wasn't huge, but it was a public library, a school library, and then whatever was in the checkout line at like the drugstore, the gas station, or the grocery store. You know, like Stephen King paperbacks you could usually get your hands on pretty easy. Or Dean Koontz, man. I read a lot of Dean Koontz books because I didn't have a bookstore.
But the whole thing, I forget where I was.
In the coal mining, man, I'll just go ahead and talk about my idea that they want this to be in a mysterious time, so to speak, is the coal mining equipment and the way they dressed and the way they approach the coal mine when we get to see the coal miners in town is not modern coal mining. And I would dare say that I probably know a little bit more about coal mining than you guys are likely to know, just by nature of geography and the fact that I'm like the first generation of men in my family not to be a coal miner. So that also is kind of throwback.
It's very My Bloody Valentine.
It kind of reminded me of maybe how my dad dressed to go into the coal mines in like 82.
So it correct me if I'm wrong. Because this is what I know about mining, and I don't even know if it's coal mining, but generally it works like the second Indiana Jones movie, right? Where you ride the cars through the tracks.
Yeah.
And you can take a shovel and you can hit the thing and it turns the track the way you need it to go.
Exactly.
That way is a cliff. The other way is safety.
80s, had this, even in the 80s, though, like if you were a miner, there was no like equipment in your hands. You rode on a mining machine that you'd have to lay on flat on your back and your nose would rub the top of the shaft.
No,
my dad would go into mine shafts where laying on his back. The shaft was just barely big enough for his machine and him to get in there.
Ugh.
Nope.
Nuh-uh.
Not doing that.
No way.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So there's not a like a hilarious little Asian kid in there.
That was in the 60s.
Oh, I see.
They'd
No
outlawed
time
it by
for
then.
love,
you go
Dr.
back far-
Leslie.
You go back far enough, and then in the coal mining, they love to bring like the 10, 11-year-old boys in because they could really get in those narrow seams.
Well,
But,
sure. Also, you can make the tunnels smaller.
And
And
you
that
don't
was
have
when
to
the
pay
miner
them.
got paid based on how much coal they brought out. So if your dad took his 3 sons in with him, then he got paid for all the coal they got out too.
Unless you're bringing back your weight in coal, don't come back.
Yeah. And, you can always have the littlest kid in charge of the canary.
Oh,
Is
man.
there like a really like gigantic guy that's Arab who like can just like grab you by the chest?
He always is the one
that's all
that's
I know about mining. That's literally all I know about mining.
he's the guy that's always swinging the cutlass around, or whatever you call those big, thick, curved swords. The scimitar. He's always swinging the scimitar around, and then you get to pull out your gun and shoot him.
Not enough scimitars in today's age, I say.
There's a really annoying blonde woman hanging around.
Screaming constantly.
There's always a really annoying blonde woman hanging around.
Ain't it the truth?
It's not limited to mining. That's limited to many of my previous relationships. Thank goodness I escaped.
You and me both, buddy. One of those blondes in my history. Anywho, man, this show is first I'm going to say this. Like, I like, dark, scary stuff. I mean, I'm a fan of like Rosemary's Baby and The Omen and The Witch that came out recently. Like, how
do you feel about that Halloween episode of Webster?
Oh, love it. Love it. Anytime you can put Emmanuel Lewis in another little costume, what are you talking about? It's amazing. But this show is like what I think is 16-year-olds girls' idea of what all this stuff is. It feels like that. It feels like this show is written by the people that it stars. In as much as none of it is scary, none of it is I don't know. I don't get a good vibe from any of this. It's never scary. It is all just like, and it seems like, oh, here's what we're going to do. Guess what? We're going to call it a dark baptism. Ooh, doesn't that make that scary?
Well, what do
it
you
doesn't.
think about the Church of Satan's lawsuit for copyright
Hey,
infringement?
listen, I wouldn't want to be made to look a fool like that either. I mean, if somebody came on, Bruce, and put your profession up on stage for everyone to see and made you look like a bumbling moron who no one could relate to and everyone hated, would you be down with that, or would you be like, hey, we need to listen? That is not what I do.
Well, do you know much about the actual Church of Satan in the United States?
Listen, they're a bunch of fun kids over there. I'm sure they're just a blast to talk to.
Because they're primarily like a political action group that is sort of really their number one goal is kind of separation of church and state. Like, none of them actually worship Satan, but they've made themselves a church so that anytime like Florida is going to put up a statue of Moses outside a courthouse, they get the statue of Baphomet put up too, under like the freedom of religion kind of stuff. So like they really don't want people worshiping Baphomet. They just kind of want to keep like church out of public places, like out of the government, and out of public schools.
It all comes from kids in middle school and high school who go down this path, and look. There's all these stupid kids. Their parents brought them up religious, and they want to give the middle finger to their parents, and so they're like, I'm gonna just do the opposite because it's super metal. And you know what? Just shut up. None of you don't buy the crap that you're selling.
I was
so
a
just
kid.
Shut up.
I was a kid during the satanic panic of the 1980s, and I would just be really heartbroken if I decided I wanted to join the Church of Satan and thought we were going to go about, I don't know, digging up graves and slaughtering animals, and found out it was all about going to the Supreme Court to get a statue of Baphomet put up in Tallahassee, Florida. I'd be like, come on, man. I could have just done like a normal life to do this. When do we start cranking up playing our Metallica records backwards and drinking blood. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But
They're funny.
The point I'm getting at is Baphomet is something that they created. That particular statue of Baphomet. It's not the name Baphomet, of course, predates
the big goat-looking thing for everybody. That if you don't really know what we're talking about, it's the big satanic-looking goat dealie.
And it's not even the actual monster that shows up that I think is the issue, but they do get these statues put up in places like Kansas City and Tallahassee, Florida, and stuff like that, and they do use like an exact replica of one of their statues, which I think kind of lazy on Sabrina's creator's part, but it also makes it interesting because where do you stand on a lawsuit like that? And then it makes me think, wow, that's kind of like Scientology. You can't like share what's in their Dianetics on any kind of public forum because they have all the copyright protection on it. I like it when religion is copyrighted.
Don't tell nobody.
Join the Church of the Lump, guys.
Oh, man.
Join the Church of the Lump. It's all copyrighted.
Wait a minute. If I'm not mistaken, Sean, hasn't this been Bruce's plan for the last at least 5+ years of writing books to kind of like start his own minor religion so he can start being tax exempt and things of that nature? Wasn't that part of your plan that you've told us off the air? I don't know if I should have revealed that to everyone here. I don't know if that's been on the show, but it's really been his thing he wants to create a tax shelter, if we're honest with ourselves.
Hey, man, L. Ron Hubbard was onto something.
Hey,
the
listen.
problem is I actually I don't have a lot of morals, but it doesn't take a lot to be above starting a fake church for financial gain. And I unfortunately have just enough to keep me from doing that.
But I don't care for any. I think all of it is silly and just dumb. It takes forever to do anything. And again, it is just like, hey, what's the most? Just do the opposite. Do the opposite. And here's the thing, like the idea
disorder
of
disorder in the court. You're dishonored. I love
so stupid and ham-fisted. It's disgusting. It's
stupid.
Just dumb. But it is like
so terrible.
I don't know. I can't even with this thing.
They even just flat out call the attorney Daniel Webster.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Like, are we supposed to think this is the Daniel Webster from famous 18th century New England literature?
Why not? At this point,
usually the way that I understand satanic law is usually it's about who's the best fiddle player.
Yes. Oh, thanks.
Oh man, I saw a great meme. I saw a great meme on Facebook today that says Church of Satan with a question mark. Who wants to worship a god that lost to Charlie Daniels in a fiddle contest?
It's so bad. All I can think of, and there's so much talk about witch law and all this other stuff, and all I am thinking of the entire time is just Charlie Day talking about how he's an expert in bird law and how this is about makes as much flipping sense.
And the guy playing Nathaniel Webster, Bruce, you might remember this, but there's no way Adam ever saw it. There was a TV show called Crazy Like a Fox.
Do you remember that show?
And the guy playing Nathaniel Webster was the young cool guy on that show.
And didn't they try to like put a cool car in there, kind of give it a Magnum PI vibe by the guy having a cool car?
Well, that's Hardcastle and McCormick you're thinking of.
Oh, I thought there was a cool car.
No,
Crazy Like
Hardcastle and McCormick, the guy's driving a Coyote.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was slightly jarring to me to see that actor playing playing Nathaniel Webster. It was quite jarring because the last time I saw him was in the 80s.
John Rubenstein, is that the guy's name?
Rubenstein's his last name. I don't know his first name. But let me look it up on IMDb. I'll find out.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's John Rubenstein.
Yeah, there you go, John Rubenstein. And the last time I saw that guy was literally in Crazy Like a Fox. So I haven't seen that guy in like 30 years. I'm like, why is that guy getting so much older and I'm staying the same age? Why am I still 8?
Oh man, that was a great show, Crazy Like a Fox. I wish we were reviewing that. You see, the conceit of the show, Adam, is that the old guy, the father, like Harry Fox Sr., was the laid back, like wild kind of crazy guy, and his son was the uptight attorney.
That's right.
I miss when we had shows like that where the names were just so dead nuts on with everything. Harry Fox. Ah, there you go. That's a genius move.
We did it again, guys. Let's
Harry
go do
Fox
more blow.
Senior. But yeah, so we have the whole, and you know, I do kind of like when you're dealing with sort of supernatural forces, and you run into this a lot, like in the Dresden Files, when you're dealing with the Fey courts and how legalistic everything is. And it's weird because you think like, my idea is if Satan did exist and did have influence on the real world like he does in this show, that like he wouldn't really care about the law. I mean, isn't that kind of the point? Like, you're breaking the rules.
Yeah, you would think, because like they're like, oh, chaos, disorder, and all this other kind of stuff. And by the way, show up to court from this subpoena, and you're like, what? This doesn't make it like seriously. People are served papers in a show about witches and the devil.
I love it, man. I love it.
It was the most interesting episode that I was forced to watch.
Better than the Batty Bat episode.
It is. I don't know what you're talking about, but the because I refuse to listen. The the lawsuit one was the best one, because of course the lawyer's like, he's like, no, I'm not gonna go. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. And then she shows up to court and the doors open up and there he is. I'm her lawyer.
As if this could be written any other way.
I have a real life story that's kind of similar to that. It's not about me, but it's about someone whose privacy I feel like I need to protect. But I have seen something very similar to that happen in real life, which is hilarious. I love small town courts.
It's so dumb. It's so silly. And yeah, the disorder in the court, and how everybody gets a gavel and you just start banging it and screaming away. It's like Parliament, man. I don't know what's going on.
What I would have liked to have seen is that Sabrina has to do it herself. And then they cut to the lawyer. That, like, she keeps looking back at the door never opens. Then they cut to the lawyer, and the lawyer's just getting drunk in his little cabin.
Isn't he supposed to show
something
up?
Something that this show's really missing is any time, you know, that you look at like Campbellian archetypes, and you see this in all kinds of stories, no matter how serious it is, no matter if it's supposed to be horror or if it's supposed to be drama, this show is really missing the archetype character that's known as the fool. Like we could use a little bit of comedy in this show. I thought maybe Ambrose was going to be the fool, but that didn't happen. I thought maybe Hilda could be the fool, you know. And when I say the fool, I don't mean that as a knock on their intellect, but it's like the, you know, like C-3PO in
the comic relief.
Yeah, the comic relief, or, you know, like Mary and Perry and the Lord of the Rings. Like you need your fool character, and we don't really have a fool here, and I think it could use that.
I'm sitting there every time he's on the screen. I'm going, General Ambrose Burnside. There he is. Look at him, exactly as I pictured.
Yeah, he amazing how Hollywood actors have incredible abs, no matter what character they're playing in a show.
Man, that guy's never eaten cake in his life.
Okay,
Oh,
I want to talk for a second about how I think this show is actually dangerous.
Let's hear it.
Is this a crackpot theory, or do you actually believe
No,
it?
I literally believe this show, if in the wrong hands, this show can be dangerous. Because let's be honest, you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong, the general age bracket for people that are wanting that this show is kind of marketed to and should be for are girls between the ages, I would say probably 13 to 22, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's this bread and butter.
No way, you are way off.
You don't think that this is for young?
You are way.
Oh, please.
No, but it's not made for them. But those are the ones that you have to worry about,
or at least
like
the ones that they're trying to. They're the ones that they're
watching
trying to sell it to, if you will, I guess.
Right.
This show has a very, and while the idea is not bad, it is so heavy-handed with the social justice warrior stuff and how these girls interact with people within their community, people that are bad. I'm not saying that the people that are, you know, against them or attacking them or are good people. They most certainly are not. But like the one little girl who, you know, they rip down their little Wicca poster or whatever and just go like, this is stupid. And the one girl just goes ape and runs at the guy. What that is such a horrible thing to like show people that like, hey, this is how you get your frustrations out. Just bum rush somebody. And then when the football player punches you in the face, again, he's clearly not in the right doing that. You got to expect something like that to happen, right? I just think, and then they're like, then she goes to like her teacher and everything, and they're like, all you got to do is get your girlfriends together, and you'll be able to take on these boys and all that. I'm like, this is not going to end well. I mean, I'm sure in the show it will end well because of magic and gobbledygook. But
Adam, all you have to do is call up 3 witches to make these jocks confront their homophobia in a coal mine.
Yeah, and again, those guys in the real world probably would have murdered you.
I got to tell you, I got my butt kicked a whole lot in high school. And the first time it happened, a couple of other nerdy guys came up to me and we were all like, let's make a flyer. Let's put up flyers everywhere. That'll stop the guys from beating us.
Yeah, this is not how you handle these things. It's really, I don't know. There's just a couple things when they were in this. I'm just like, this is a dangerous lesson to teach possibly, you know, some impressionable kids that are watching this to go like, yeah, we ought to stand up to these people that could kill us. And then you see later on at that Halloween party, she's invigorated. She's just like, yeah, I feel like going back in for a second round. I'm like, that's a disturbed individual that really wants to go after this and you know, be abused again. To me, I found that very disturbing and very unnerving that this is kind of, I get it, but I get what they're trying to do, but I just don't, like we said, kids are dumb, man. And I think they're gonna take the wrong things from this, and you know, some of them, I don't know.
Well, some kids are dumb, and you know, it's the same kids. You know, those kids are gonna get got some other way anyway. So why not have them get the crap beat out of them by the football team? But by the way, if you remember, one of the things we really liked about Spider-Man last year is that the bullies are not the football players, because very rarely in real life are the bullies the football players. And this, again, of course, there are 4 homophobic, gigantic football players with amazing abs who are picking on the kid who is, you know, like dealing with sexual identity, you know, like, come on.
Yeah, because they had already mentioned something that happened off screen before we even joined the show, is that they'd pulled her shirt up to see if she really had breasts.
Right.
It's not a good thing, and then to, you know, delve back into that and just really, I don't know. I just thought it's an unhealthy expression of emotions and things of that nature, and I was just like, oh.
But
boy.
I think they showed consequences. I don't think that it looked like she did the right thing.
No. But at the same time, too. But again, so like the scene that follows that though is called, well, I got into a fight. Well, no, you started a fight first and foremost, and then they're like, well, we're gonna get them in trouble for this. I'm like, I'm not justifying what those guys did because it was awful, but you bum rushed them. Again, I'm not saying that you deserve that, but you can't be overly shocked by that outcome. And then later on, you go and say, I want to go and do it again. That's I don't like that.
As a person who has a couple of times in my life been bum rushed by a lady, I have had the restraint not to punch anyone, because I don't think violence is ever the answer, regardless of gender roles or anything else. I don't think violence is the right answer, but I think it does show a definite lack of restraint on everyone's part there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't look at that and go, there's one right side here. I go, they're both wrong. But that's just, I don't know.
Because, I remember one time when I was in, like, maybe the 9th grade, because I went to junior high where like 7th through 12th grade was all together. So I might have been in the 9th grade at that point, and my cousin, who was female, was in the 8th grade, and I don't know what I did that made her mad somewhere along the line, But she came up and just started like wailing on me in the hallway at school, and all I did was like cover my head and scream for help, because that's the only way you can get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Or run. You can run too, but she's probably faster than me.
His short little wizard legs won't take him fast. I'll tell you that right now, boy. Punch, punch, punch. But here's the thing. The show overall is boring. And, man, when you do get to that 5th dream episode and everything where, like, first of all, I'll say this. Does anyone remember the Bumble Ball from, like, the late 90s? Because that's what that little cube is that she basically gets. That's like a redesigned, a Bumble Ball, which, was a toy for toddlers.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
It's so
you like, say it's a toy for toddlers, but I'll say that you can enjoy one at any age,
or a ferret or something like that. I could see a ferret having a lot of fun with that toy. But it's so silly. It runs her up. It opens up. The demon comes out and everything, and then we have the entire episode is dreamscape stuff, which I've said I normally like that kind of stuff. And I know you hate it. And I was just like, if I hate this, I can't imagine how Sean is not just gouging his eyes out.
I hated it on shows that I loved watching. But whenever Tony Soprano would have a dream episode, it was like, what? I'm not even going to bother watching this.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm cheated when I'm watching a dream sequence. But, of course, here there are consequences in the dreams. It makes a little more sense. But, man, I've been bitter ever since I found out that Bobby Ewing wasn't really dead. Spoiler, by the way. I probably should have gave people a spoiler warning. Sorry about that. But if you're not all caught up on Dallas, just ignore what I said.
Those Dallas fans.
There's somebody somewhere in America still wondering who shot JR.
You know what's really weird, though? Like, so in film school, we had people that were we had a group of friends that were just so in love with Larry Hagman, you wouldn't believe. It was almost bizarre. I don't know why, but
no, man. There's only room in my heart for Lee Majors. Larry Hagman can't fit in.
They love some Larry Hagman. I would think mostly because it was just called, "Hey, you're a drunk just like Larry Hagman is." No, you are.
I mean, I really appreciated his work on I Dream of Jeannie, but I felt like his Dallas work wasn't his best.
I'm more of a Matt Houston fan myself.
Oh, good call there, man. Good call.
Thank you.
But,
welcome back to Old Folks Weekly.
Let's talk about the makeup on the demon, the effect or whatever.
Why?
Because
let's go back to talking about Dallas.
But it's bad. And I don't just mean it's bad and everything in this show is bad. It is not up to par with what they've given us in the show, up to the point that the demon shows up. I mean, it's seriously, and I have a nice warm place in my heart for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show. But, this is being made many, many years after that. And it really, like, they put a lot of work into the goat demon that's Baphomet. They put a lot of work into the little glimpses of the goblin that we get when it's not in the form of Salem. They give us some decent creepy effects, and then this thing just, man, it just sticks out like the comic book fan at the Super Bowl party, man. It just sticks out.
I don't stick out. I blend.
It's bad though. It's not. You're right. I didn't put that together, but yes, this is a very Buffy-esque sort of villain in a time where we got way past that a long time ago. Man, this should be better than that.
And I mean the way that they deal with Madam Satan, which by the way I'm a big fan of Michelle. Is it Michelle Gomez? I can't remember if it's Michelle or Melissa, but I'm a big fan of Ms. Gomez from her role as Missy, the female version of the Master on Doctor Who.
Oh yeah,
from the Peter
she's
Capaldi.
Great.
I love her, and she plays Madam Satan without needing to do some cheesy makeup. And I think that the body bot, the sleep demon, the dream demon, could have even, if you can't make it look good and gruesome, it would have been fine just being like a mysterious older lady or something. The choice that they made with that just doesn't fit with anything else I saw in the first 5 episodes.
And boy, oh boy, you talk about chewing some scenery. Holy moly. That's something else, boy. Oh, and I like how there was a point where, I guess for plot reasons, the ants start getting much older. And then
because they lose their magic. They mention that they're like 300 years old and witches have these prolonged lives.
And I love how one goes back and she's just like, oh, thank heavens, I'm young again at the, late 40s, early 50s.
Exactly. If I could quote a line that I used famously during the Peter Hooten Doctor Strange movie is she gave up, she sold her soul to the devil for eternal middle age. Exactly. That's what these ladies have done. Absolutely.
They're just like, couldn't you have struck a better bargain to just be like, hey, can't we, let me look like that, let me look like that Wonder Woman broad. Can you do that? That's what I would be working for if I was one of these witches and had some immortal stuff going on or darn near immortal.
Yeah, and I think they should at least let Caroline Ray have a cameo or something here.
Right, at least
work. Sister comes in. Bring in Nick Vakai for God's sake. He did the voice of Salem.
That guy, okay. Just funny stuff, man. That whenever that cat just came, I'm like, and that's again, I know that this is not something that you should judge it on, but I'm like, can't this cat talk and have some funny one-liners in here somewhere, just every now and then or something?
That's what the back five are for. I encourage you guys to watch them because they're full of just Salem cracking jokes.
No, we're not falling for that. I just listen. If all of a sudden it was like you had, I don't know, Brian Regan as the voice of the cat, just dropping funny lines constantly, I still wouldn't watch the back five of this.
Eating crackers and sand all day. I'm very thirsty.
I still would not watch. I would be like, you know what? I love that guy, but no.
So weird that Brian Regan is where you went to.
I tried to I was like, well, that guy's dead. Well, that guy's dead too. So I went through a couple of dead comedians, and I'm like, who's universally loved? I'm like, everyone loves Brian Regan.
Interesting choice to go with. I would have went with Patton Oswalt just because I'm thinking about Happy.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, he's the new voice in Secret Life of Pets 2 and everything. And I watched that trailer, and I'm
sequel,
like,
the world
it works.
The world has been waiting for with bated breath.
Hey! That first movie was all right. That first movie was okay.
that first movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
How dare you?
So it's
exactly. It's good. It's a good flick. I enjoyed it, and the second one looks like
the fact that I didn't see the first one. I think we've talked it all out, man. I don't know if there's much else to say. The weird.
There's one
Bruce, we're missing one key factor to this entire ordeal, and that's how this television show relates back to Sylvester Stallone.
Sweet baby Jesus, it's about time we're at the end of this episode. Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Get out of town.
Jessica Carrington works in the visual effects department on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. She was born in a town that to my American ear sounds completely made up and fake. Worksop, Nottinghamshire.
Oh, that's totally made up.
But while spending time with the Bog people, she yearned for more, dreamed of one day making it in the film business. So she did what everyone else did. She moved to Vancouver, British Columbia. And faster than you can say, please don't email me your hate for the Bog people comment, she was working in the film industry on a TV special called Once Upon a Time, Magic is Coming, which sounds like a dirty movie, but it's actually a real thing. She would go on to work on a ton of big budget superhero stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was a movie I hated, and Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, which was another movie I hated. And I hate this TV show we just watched this week. Wait a minute, wait a second, guys. Do I secretly hate superhero movies and TV shows? I just watch these things so I could rot away this genre from the inside?
Ooh.
Am I a bottom-feeding parasite that only wishes to feed off other people's accomplishments and turn it into some kind of hateful paste that eventually turns cancerous and destroys the multiverse created by people more talented than I am? Nah, that's ridiculous. It is they who suck. Sorry for the crisis of conscience, guys. As some people have said about our free podcast, I do have a tendency to go all over the place during these things. Jessica Carrington was also the visual effects coordinator on a movie called Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which we reviewed on episode 156 of HMP. And that movie happened to have a man who probably smells like the inside of a Ferrari, Sylvester Stallone. And there you have it, HMPers. Your Stallone connection this week is visual effects coordinator Jessica Carrington. Now, Aunt What's-Her-Face and Aunt Dingus, let's review the first 17 hours of Sabrina so we can watch something else I'm not going to like at all.
Oh, you may regret those words, young man. Bruce, here on Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Check that out at facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. Bruce, where does the first 5 episodes of The Curious Case of Benjamin Sabrina fall on the Robin rating system for you, sir?
Well, I clearly liked it better than you guys. I think that's a statement that can't be questioned. I've liked all the Sabrina I've ever consumed at different parts of my life. I've liked the comics. I liked the animation when I got it. I liked the Melissa Joan Hart show. And I find some interest in this. I definitely think this is a show that's proud of what it's doing. Maybe it's not doing as much as it could, but it didn't try to make this like Harry Potter with an American Girl, because when they were talking about going to the Academy of Unseen Arts, I was worried that was the direction it was going in.
I was praying that's what it would be. I'm like, God, please be like a satanic Hogwarts and stuff. That would be cool. That ain't what this is.
Madam Satan is a really cool old school Archie Comics character from the days of Pep Comics. The fact that this is the premiere of Madam Satan in live action, I get kind of a kick out of that. They have some talented actresses, and I guess actors is the term that's appropriate. They have talented actors. Gender's not important.
The actual actress thing didn't really come around until the 70s. Everyone was always an actor up until that point. So actor is technically man, woman doesn't really matter.
So I'm going to give it a Damian Wayne. I think that there are plenty of people that are going to find enjoyment on this. This is way better than Riverdale. Riverdale is the show that's written for the 13 to 16-year-old girls, Adam. This show is written for a broader audience, maybe hoping for a more intelligent audience. I think that there's some fun to be had. I give it to Damian Wayne.
And now for a counterpoint, Sean Keenan.
Is there a Robin that's made of farts? I am going Jason Todd all day. I look, like Bruce says, there's some talented people on this show. Mm-hmm. Kiernan Shipka is going to be a massive, massive movie star. But this is Jason Todd if Jason Todd was made of farts.
For me, this is Chris O'Donnell as Jason Todd, strangling Jason Todd in a sea of farts. This show is absolutely awful. I think her tongue's too big for her mouth. She has that sort of thing that the other kid from the No Good Very Bad Day has, where it's just like a little bit, like the tongue's just a little bit too big, and it drives me up the wall. Bonkers. This show stinks in every way. Like that first 15, 20 minutes, I knew that this is going to be such a slog, and it was. It is worse. I can't recommend this to anyone. I will not watch any more of this. That Christmas special can just, ship right off to Witchland, because I don't give two Peter Hootens about any of this. The lowest score ever. I would rather watch
a live action version of Witchy Poo.
Yeah, it's
that actually sounds good. Did you try? I mean, did you try to tongue shame a young 19-year-old person?
Look, I'm just sitting there watching the whole thing going like, what is it about her? What is it? And by about 2 hours in, I was just like, it feels like her, just because she's just has a way of speaking where it just feels like her tongue is just 5% bigger than what it should be.
So you kept picturing
I cannot wait for the eventuality of about 5 years when she's the biggest star in the world.
I like the idea that every time Sabrina speaks, that all Adam can think of is Tully from Kids.
I'm just thinking Thucker and Thuckatash. It's over there. It's just, I can't. Oh, wow. What a pull. What a pull on that one. Boy. Man, oh, man. Wow.
I know.
Holy smokes.
He just pulled that right out of the ether.
That is one of the most inappropriate things for this show ever. So good on you, Bruce.
Kids, don't watch Kids.
Don't.
Hey, it also featured Casper, the dopest ghost.
Oh my goodness. Let's get off of this before he starts getting the actual plot details for that film. Well, like I said at the beginning of the show, we'd like to thank everybody that supports us at patreon.com/HMP. Every month you guys get to vote on the program that we'll be watching outside of, your regular Dinger Zone episodes and whatnot. And this month, boy, oh boy, I think we're going to get redeemed here, Sean. Next week, the winner is Hellboy 2.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, my goodness. So, clutch your pearls and join us next week because Hellboy 2 is going to be
clutched.
So much better than what we're working with here.
I pre-clutched my pearls.
Oh, they've come to our rescue, thank heavens. So we'll be talking about Hellboy 2 next week. In the meantime, Bruce, where might we find more of your work on the internet?
Well, I just want to encourage people to purchase my religious texts on Amazon.com. So look for Dragon Blinder. That's the newest one that's out there, and claim it as a tax deduction. Just see what happens. I believe in playing fast and loose with the IRS.
Amen to that. Don't claim your cash tips, everybody. Sean?
With Stan Lee's passing this week, I'd like to take this moment to talk about William Goldman. William Goldman was an amazing, amazing screenwriter, and he passed this week too. He has one of the widest ranges of any screenwriter of all time. He wrote the screenplay to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He also wrote the screenplay to The Princess Bride. He also wrote the screenplay to Over the Top, because he bet his friend he could write a movie about arm wrestling and have it not only sold but get it made. The guy was awesome, and we lost him this week, and he did it. He got to age 87. Like, good job by him. But we lost somebody good this week, and that kind of gets lost in nerddom. But he was one of the good ones, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And not only did he write the screenplay to The Princess Bride, he wrote the novel The Princess Bride, and for me personally, like, that is as good as it gets for humorous fantasy, action comedy in a fantasy setting. I mean, no secret that I would love to be able to just do a little bit of what William Goldman did with The Princess Bride. So I'm with you there, man.
Two of the best written movies, like on the top 10 of best written movies to me, he wrote 2 of them. I mean, it's amazing.
And, some people say that he also wrote Good Will Hunting.
Is Over the Top the second one?
Yes.
Okay.
That certainly counts. But yeah, William Goldman was one of the greatest novelists. He considered himself a novelist, but, everyone really, the screenplays is what he's always truly going to be remembered for. So, yeah, William Goldman, rest in peace, that guy as well. My other show, The Film Find, filmfind.com. So many new releases, and I'm going to talk about a film called Border that no one in their right mind will see, but boy, oh boy, it's insane.
Or should see from your description.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm scarred just by your description of what the movie is.
And I didn't even get to the really weird stuff about that film, so...
I don't need to know it.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. So check that out over at The Film Find, everybody. I'm going to have 2 shows this week because I missed last week, but I've got so many movies that I've been watching, and I've got so much to talk to you guys about. So check that out at thefilmfind.com. That's it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking about our Patreon-supported review for the month. That's going to be Hellboy 2. For Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
To find that I was by the sea, gazing with tranquility. Just then when the hurdy-gurdy man came singing songs of love. Then when the hurdy-gurdy man came singing songs of love. Sad. Hurdy-gurdy, listen. Here comes a roly-poly man, he's singing songs of love. Roly-poly, roly-poly, roly.